Hello, my name is Marcello and I'm here to talk about the storyboard. So let's begin. As you might know or maybe not, the storyboard is part of the architecture value realization program led by our SC transformation team inside Cisco. Basically, the idea is help the account teams to demonstrate and sell the business value of Cisco's strategic solutions, such as DNA. In this case, as you can see on the screen, here is a storyboard already completed for a fictitious customer called ACME Corporation. And what I'm gonna do here is demonstrate how we build that together so you can realize what's gonna be the value for you. So starting at the top left, you look at the snapshot. What's the idea on the snapshot? It's basically sit together with your Cisco champion, and that could be your technical manager point of contact, or maybe your CTO or CIO inside your customer, and getting his attention to create together a storyboard, a compelling story, so that would benefit him in terms of seeing the business value that our solutions is going to provide them. So the first point is talk about a snapshot. What is a snapshot? If you ask the CTO to take a snapshot of his main business and technical things and situations that he's actually facing today, what would that be? In this case, the CTO of ACME pointed out that they have a lot of things connecting to their network, and those networks are not on-prem anymore. So they are kind of on-prem and also in the cloud, and the number of applications, things, and people that connect is massively increasing day by day. With that, it pressures a lot the company, because if you are not able to handle that in a very good way with a very good infrastructure, as well as having a scalability, so tomorrow or maybe 1 year, 2 years, 5 years from now, which we expect to have a much exponential growth over it, for sure what's going to happen for the company is that it's going to disrupt the business, because in the end of the day, who runs the business are all those people, things, and applications that runs over that infrastructure. So the idea here when we spoke with the CTO was, okay, let's put in a very nice chart, one chart, with all those things that we think that make sense, calling out in terms of looking for the future. But as of today, this is pretty much the company's snapshot, which is we got a lot of people, application, things, they need connectivity, and they are really struggling with that. So looking at the second point to work on the storyboard, which is threats, the idea here is basically look at what is going to be the implications or situations caused because of that snapshot that we took a few minutes before. Basically, the point is, if you look at all those people, things, and connectivity that's needed, what's going to be the situations happening because of that? So if we look at the now and the future, what could be the most important pillars that we need to take care of, not to disrupt this customer business? So the point is, question yourself, is it impacting today, or it will impact in a very near future? So those are some of the things actually we are going to work together with your Cisco champion, in this case the CTO of ACME. And as a result, we want to point out here in this chart, in a very summarized way, what could be the implications and situations caused if I look into today and in the future, disrupting on that business for that company. So the idea is to list here. We listed in this case 3 pillars. We look at security, we look at management, and we look at operations. So we pointed out many different situations that could happen in the future, or maybe is already happening because of this snapshot and the main parts of the network, or the way it is structured today. So as a next step, we want to go to the opportunity. Basically, the idea of the opportunity is how can we translate all those difficulties and situations into a business opportunity for us to make it better And when I say business opportunity to make it better, don't get me wrong, don't look at only Cisco side, but we need to work together with the customer, with the CTO, to identify together that, for example, in this case, maybe a DNA solution, a Cisco DNA solution, would help solve many of those situations looking back on the snapshot and threads. So the idea here is identify what would be the main pillars of a DNA solution, looking at a high level, that would help us create a plan to mitigate in a short, mid, or long term. And of course, looking especially at the threads that we pointed out before, a kind of a solution for that. Once we are done with this, we expect to have at this point at least a high level architecture, in this case of a DNA architecture. Let me give you an example. For instance, on having DNA center and the eyes working together with the fabric and proposing a lot of good benefits and solving all the threads that we worked together to put in a piece of paper and to list it. So we expect that at this point we agreed with the CTO what are the kind of architecture that we need to build together using DNA, for example, and what would be the biggest benefits, like business benefits and maybe technical benefits that were listed on the opportunity that you just worked. So moving ahead, the next step is going to be what we call rethink. What is rethink? Now that we already identified what is the architecture in high level through the opportunity, now the idea is, okay, how can we translate those high level topics or architecture in something more detailed for us to really start working and seeing the benefits? Because at this point we just discussed the high level architecture, we put that together, we make some nice drawings, and we agreed on that this would work if we decided to proceed together. But now the idea is, okay, how can we detail that a little bit more? So then the way we do this is, let's create some use cases. So in this case we created 5 different use cases, as you can see on the screen, and each of the use cases we put what is the benefit, very specific. So let me read one of those just as an example. For the plug and play, what's going to be the benefit if the customer agrees to move on with this use case? It's very clear. Is if we implement plug and play, customer will be able to implement new network services more quickly, or maybe quickly because today they're moving very slow. So that's going to be a very direct benefit that he's gonna get out of this first use case. You can read by yourself the next ones, but it's basically the idea, where did it came from? It came from exactly the opportunity high level architecture discussion we had about DNA. And we are listing 5 use cases because for this CTO, for this situation on this customer ACME Corporation, we realized that those 5 were the ones that the CTO agreed on that we should immediately try to leverage or try to see, show the value. But you can do your own customization because the DNA solution that Cisco has many different benefits and use cases. So the idea is it's pretty much flexible for you to go to your customer CTO or your customer stakeholder, and during those discussions decide together how many use cases is going to be good for you, for your situation, for your customer, and what kind of benefits each of those use cases will bring to the table to this customer. So that's the main idea. You see, we discussed some of the main pillars of the DNA solution, which is automation, assurance, and SD access, but there are many more. It's up to you to find and customize it according to the conversation together with your customer. So once you have identified what are the main use cases, next step is go to the run process, which is basically how we show to the customer that the use cases, the each 5 use cases we defined previously, is gonna really add value in real life. So how can we do this? We basically map for each of the use cases how can we demonstrate that in a live environment. For instance, we can run a POV, we can run a POC, we can run whatever kind of presentation, but we highly recommend you at this stage to really show something more practical. That's what we want on the run, right? So on the run side, what we want is show for each use case one demonstration on a lab, on a customer environment, whatever is best for you, whatever is quick for you to agree with your customer. Maybe your customer already have a lot of Cisco devices DNA ready, for instance. So why not run those tests inside their own network? But maybe you're gonna face some situations like a brownfield where your customer still did not realize the value because he didn't know, and then he's not prepared to run all of those use cases on the live network. So why not use the great labs that we have available inside Cisco to show to them how it would be, so it wouldn't delay the process of showing the use case, but at the same time the customer wouldn't need to invest any kind of money buying or upgrading any kind of licenses or changing devices for that. So but the focus on the idea is create an action plan for each of the use cases to show to your customer each use cases how it's gonna benefit his business. So next step, once you gave the opportunity through the run for a customer to really taste the Cisco solution through the great use cases we define together, on the yield, last but not least, big box of the storyboard, the idea is, okay, how can we prove to the business inside of your customer that is really gonna add value? I'm not talking about a nice feature that is implemented here or there. I'm talking about what are the KPIs that are important for the business of your customer that you should be careful and create the right measurements during the run phase for you to be prepared to put that in a very nice chart. As a result of each of the use cases, each of them must provide a nice KPI, so you can build those kinds of nice infographics to show in the end of the day what is that for, why your customer is going to be interested in looking at those use cases, and go in a next step like, okay, how can I implement this in my own network? That's what we want to hear, right? So basically, just summarizing here, the storyboard is a way for you as account team to move fast inside your customer and get his buy-in, participating through all those phases together with you and defining everything from a high-level business discussion up to the low-level technical demonstration. But don't forget to tie everything to a really nice infographic showing the results of each use cases related to the business, to the customer business, because we don't want the customer to in the end of this process to look at us and say, hey, this is great, but I want to see how this is going to be effective to my business. So what is going to be that maybe lower MTTR or any other kind of business metric that he's supposed to work together with you as a KPI. What we want is a very nice compelling story, a very nice testing, and put all this together is in one chart as an infographic, and at the end of this send it to your customer, and we want him to be helping us inside the company, leveraging this conversation and showing that inside his company, just showing to the executive levels or whatever, who takes the decision there, and leveraging the messaging saying, hey, this Cisco solution really is gonna benefit us because we discussed it, all the difficulties we have, we created an architecture to solve all of those issues or situations. We then tested each one of those, and I really saw that it worked. And in the end of the day, we were able to articulate exactly what were the KPIs to prove that not only the technical was great, but also it would give us the benefits if we decide to move on with this architecture. So with that said, I would like to thank you very much for your time on watching this video, and hopefully it's going to add value. Just reach out to us just in case you want to understand and talk a little bit more about this architecture value realization with this storyboard.